Welcome to this week's Endurance for Everyone podcast.
The following program is for entertainment purposes only. Though the hosts of this show are certified Ironman coaches, their attempts at long-course triathlons and endurance events should not be taken as an endorsement for you to do something stupid too. You should make your own bad decisions, then podcast about it. Now, let's start the show.
And here we are, episode 104, the first full one of 2018. This is John Harris. I am your host down here in Florida, and it's getting warm again now. So, and then up there in the still the frigid north is Rob Bozovich. How you doing today, Rob?
Very good, John. And by first full one, it's our first full one together.
Together, right. We had, we've only had one in 2018. That was Amy last week.
Starting a year off strong, John.
Starting a year off. That was a very good episode. I didn't get to listen to it for a while, but I listened to it actually on the way to my last swim workout, which was right.
I would say that's like encouragement, right?
Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. She did a great job. Both of them did. You know, it's a couple of really good episodes, I thought.
Good.
So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to go. I had a race on Saturday, a 25K trail race. You finished up your first week of your marathon training. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then we had a question come up in the group that I actually answered in the group, but I thought it would be an interesting topic to go over here, if you're okay with that.
I am just fine with that, John. Let's get rolling.
Let's get rolling. So you want to talk about your training first?
I sure can if you want me to. So, and if you're in the group, you would have seen a couple of my photos, and therefore I'm not necessarily going to have a new photo with every stat. I guess I should say what I'm doing, and it sounds random and rambling. I'm sorry. So I started posting in the group, as most of you share, your workouts and your, like the little Garmin with the stats on the bottom, the distance and so forth. And I was starting to put those in because, for accountability to the group, but also what you and I had talked about, John, is on the side, I've been keeping a kind of like a Word document, and I believe we're going to put up somewhere either on enduranceforeveryone.com or in Fat Slow Triathlete blog, like what I do is just kind of like not necessarily a blog entry a day, because some of them are only 1 or 2 lines long, but it'll just be a rolling diary, if you will, just a couple of notes about the run, the training, the whatever. So today's, I haven't wrote it yet, but I just, I was in a hotel, that's why I might sound a little different. I'm on a headset and my phone. But so I did my interval workout on the treadmill, and then, the treadmill shut off in the middle because they only go for an hour, and then it goes into cool down mode. And then I had to reset the machine and get going again. And then, trying to get those last couple intervals in, my watch, using the foot pod tracking indoors, says I'm running at a 11-minute pace, and the treadmill says I'm running at 8.5. So obviously I've overheated the machine. So just little things like that are kind of like training notes, but also like a, follow your own adventure, play along type of deal. Like I said, so all my photos for those, Garmins, like I put up a couple, like one was the gym that was empty. One was, like I put up a picture of the Hanson's marathon method to the cover of the book, because that's kind of the training plan that I'm following. And then what you all have heard me say, John is my coach. So I'm doing this like a hybrid. I said, hey, John, I want to do this. And he's going to watch me and pay attention, make sure that I'm not overtraining and going to get ill or anything with that. And then, like I did also, I'm doing this training for the Pittsburgh Marathon. So the one photo was just, stolen from the Pittsburgh Marathon site. So it just said that, I'm going to try, if I have something unique to put up, like on Saturday's run, I got a nice little ice beard going.
I saw that, yeah.
But I didn't. I sent that only to you, though. I didn't put that up because they were not snot sickles, but they were directly under my nose and from the condensation of breathing. So it didn't look so appealing, but there was substantial ice buildup. So, and it's all relative, John, I know you're going to say it was cold where you're at. I'm going to say it's cold where I'm at. And then I listened to, Pete and Gretchen, they talk about like negative 30s up there. So, I'm not quite to where they're at and you're not quite to where we're at, but we all are where we are where we're training.
Cold is relative. I don't care, if you're from the north or not. 27 degrees is cold. It's not zero, but it's still cold. Okay,
it's cold, and I'll give it to you, and especially when you're not ready for it. But that being said, I was actually on the treadmill. I was listening back to our other shows. I was just listening to episode 99 because I was still on my phone, and we were talking about my half marathon. And, I said, oh, yeah, it was 30 degrees and it was up to 40 and I was sweating and I'm stripping layers off. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was a much different experience for you at the same temperature just because of your acclimation.
Right.
But that made me think when I was out running the other day, because I'm out there trudging through it thinking like I'm tough as nails. It was -5 when I'm out there running and wind and just brutal. And when I say -5, that's -5 is what the thermometer says. That's not the feels like, wind chill. That is the actual what the thermometer says. So the wind with wind chill, it was closer to probably -25, or at least. Anyways, though, like what got me thinking about it is this was a race for you. We'll get there. But, most of your training is going to be done at a certain temperature and then raced at another temperature. Let's say your training is done at 70 because that's your average temperature through the winter. I don't know if that's true. I'm making that up. And then you're going to race at 90, right? So you have about a 20-degree difference. Well, if I'm out there training at 0 degrees and when I run Pittsburgh, it's going to be 70 degrees. I think the bigger thing is just the swing in temperature from what I'm training in to what I'm actually going to be racing in.
Yeah.
And other than running inside and climate controlled, there's no real way to mitigate that. So we can get there and later. That's one of the random things you think of when you're out trying to not think of being cold. Anyways, though, training's good. And with this Hansen's marathon method, for anyone who hasn't gone out and looked at it as we've talked about it, it is 6 days of running a week with your rest day on Wednesdays. So my week this is week, is it 2 or 3 now? I don't know.
You're in the 2 now. Yeah.
Okay, but what I didn't realize is, because I didn't actually pull the book out, I just looked at what John had put on my calendar. Week 1 was not supposed to start until Thursday, but right. John had week 1 starting on Monday. So my coach snuck an extra 12 miles on my training plan when I wasn't paying attention.
That's what I do, man.
Appreciate it. It's just a few extra in the bank.
That's right.
So, last week it was a warm-up week, if you will, and it was 6 mile Monday, easy, 6 mile Tuesday, easy, 6 mile Wednesday, or not Wednesday, Wednesday's rest day, 6 mile Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was an 8 miler. And then, so that's yesterday was 8. Today was supposed to be an easy 6, with tomorrow being a interval. This week starts, this week, next week, they start interjecting what they call their SOS workouts, something of substance, and that's usually Tuesday, Thursday. One is going to be interval, one is going to be tempo. So today was an interval since it's week 2, which is still kind of in the building, in which case you do a 1.5 mile warm up, 400 on, 400 off.
Yep.
For repeat for 12 times, and then a 1.5 mile cool down. And then tomorrow is supposed to be a 6. I'm sorry, today is supposed to be 6. Tomorrow is supposed to be the interval. But I switched them because you heard me say I'm in the hotel. I'm catching a flight tomorrow morning at 7. And I was figuring on, just in case I don't wake up, I wanted to make sure that I got the substantial workout in. And I wanted to that way I didn't have to get up as early. I could, sleep in a half hour tomorrow morning if needed. So the training plan is pretty unique in the fact that with Wednesdays being your rest day, you basically, so you go into a interval or a tempo run on we'll say Thursday. That's like your first one. Then you have an easy run, a long run, an easy run, and then like on your last day, Tuesday, which is kind of like of the 6 days consecutive, is when you're doing once again an interval or a tempo. So they want you to basically run 6 days. You're tired. This is as tired as you're going to be. and now we want you to hold your marathon pace, which is kind of the deal behind their whole philosophy. Is they're not teaching you to run the beginning part of the marathon where you're feeling fresh. They want you to have this cumulative fatigue built up, and as such, you're running on tired legs, which I think I sent you a message and said, hey, I know it's cumulative fatigue, but I shouldn't feel this fatigue. That was by like Thursday of last week. But I got to say, after my 8-miler yesterday, just the temperature was good. When I say good, I mean it warmed up to 20 degrees, and it felt good to be out there. And today's workout, it felt good. I ended up cutting 3/4 of a mile off the end of it just for time constraints, because I think I said the treadmill shut off, and then it was varying in speed. And it was I wanted to get here to get on this, so still putting down 8.25 miles tonight was a good accomplishment for me. So
yeah,
I feel good. I'm liking it. I'm hoping people in the group are liking the posts, and if they want to follow along whenever we get the document out there for them to follow, if they want to do that, they're welcome to do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's interesting to read along when somebody's doing a training like this, because if anybody else is thinking, they can see what's going on. Now, following your looking at your entries and following them through, the concern, well, like you said, you had tired legs, and that was a concern of mine, because that's a lot of running, right off the get-go, which I think you can handle. But yeah, I do have a little concern about it burning you out really quick, because if you look at your what they call personal bests, I guess, that they do these on Garmin now, it'll show you like your best 1K and your best 400 meters and your best 200 meters and all this stuff. Every entry you have now is like you've got this string of personal bests every time.
So, well, John, more than a man, right?
Yeah.
Now, one part of that, one question, though, 'cause I didn't see those on Garmin. I did see those on Training Peaks.
Maybe it was Training Peaks I'm thinking of, yeah.
But if you go back and look, I think a bunch of those say personal best for 2018. So being the first week of 2018, it would make sense.
You might be right.
So, yeah, and then we'll see what happens from there. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's always concern that, we're going to burn you out too fast. So we'll keep an eye on it. But,
well, one thing I found interesting, and I went back and looked at it, and one of the first marathon training plans I followed for my first marathon or two was, and I don't want to say it wrong, but I think it was Marathon Rookie, but I went out and looked at it, and it was the same training plan. And it's one of those run Monday, off Tuesday, run Wednesday, Thursday, off Friday, long run, one day on the weekend. Like that's, and it's like a 3, 4, 3, 7 or whatever, I'm making those numbers up. But I ended up I kind of threw them all on Excel and tallied it, and I'm gonna run with that. I ended up running, I don't know, maybe 200, 250 miles. I forget. That seems a little bit low at this point, but I know I'm going to be running almost double to 4 times the amount. I think it's like just shy of 950 miles in this training plan.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, it's under 1,000, but it's up there.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, but you said you wanted to use Hanson, so I based it all off of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Which is good for me too, as a coach, because I've never really based anything off another person's methodology like that. So it gave me good practice for that. So.
And for those in the group listening along, Vanessa, if you're out there, she said I was missed in spin class while I was out of town, and I said, well, you're going to be missing me a whole lot more because I'm starting this training. And I told her, I said, hey, I really don't want to not go to spin because I want the classes to continue. I want them to be there next fall for me to do it. But, she's like, oh, come on, you could do one more day of training. And I'm like,
you only have one day off.
Yeah, she's like, well, you could substitute. And I'm like, I'm going to try to follow this as closely as I can.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Anyways, Vanessa, I'm sorry. But if anyone's within driving distance of Clearfield and wants to go to Vanessa's spin class, it is well worth it. I just have other obligations at this point.
Right. Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, there's going to be no swimming or biking for a while, but yeah, but I mean, there's really, I'll tell you don't see this on my side, but on the coach's side of Training Peaks, I created groups, and there's groups for triathlon, running, cycling, and I don't have anybody that just swims only. So I had those groups. I actually had to move you from the triathlon group to the running group.
So I wasn't messing up your statistics?
Well, not really statistics, but it helps me keep it in mind a little bit better. So if I pull up the running group, I got the runners that I'm working with that are just solely running, like
Gotcha.
you and Nancy, you know.
Yeah.
This is just running, period. So, and then cycling, I have Mark, you know, and then triathlon, I have Steve, you know. So, so it keeps them separate a little bit, and it helps me work through when I'm working, you know, building plans and stuff like that. But yeah, I meant to tell you, I had to move you to the running group.
Ah. I'm officially a runner. Thanks, Coach.
You're officially a runner, solely a runner. So,
till May, we'll see.
Yeah. But honestly, that's what I've been doing for a long time here now. So, you know,
and how's it played out? I mean, I know, but let's get to it. Unless you got something else. I mean, John, how was your event this weekend? And
it was as you know, the event is called CROOM Zoom. It's an event in Withlacoochee Forest down here, the CROOM Zoom management area, and. Last year, it was actually my first real trail run. Last year, it was January 7th last year. And I did the 25K. The distances are 25K, 50K, 50 miles, and 100K and 100 miles. Mm-hmm. So they have all these distances, right? So everybody that's not a 25K starts at 6 a.m. The 25K goes at 7. Because we have a separate loop. You know, there's 10-mile loops, but we have this little extra 5-mile loop that we do before we hit the 10-mile loop.
Yeah.
Last year was, it was really when, if, you know, everybody remembers my foot issue that I was having all last year. This is when it first started. It was right before this. And I really struggled in that race and had an awful time. It was like 5 hours and 58 minutes and 12 seconds, I think, was my time in that race. I got through it, but it was bad. So I'm thinking this year, you know, I can, and last year, just to recap last year, if you didn't read, you can go on the blog and read the race recap, but it was pouring rain. The race started off at 60, it was like 67 degrees, pouring rain, like torrential downpour. And it got colder as the day went on. So it was one of those days. Started at 67. When we finished, it was in the low 50s, high 40s. So it was, not only was it raining, it was getting colder as it went.
Yeah.
So it was a struggle for me. I loved the race, though. I mean, I loved being out in the woods. It was like my first real shot at that. I liked that atmosphere of it. It was just miserable weather. So I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll get lucky this year and I'll have good weather, which we did have bright blue skies. But when I started, it was 27 degrees in Florida. We had ice. We had snow flurries in Orlando a day before. It was not. So I'm thinking, oh, here we go. You know, it's like, you know, I feel good mentally entering the race. I feel like I could at least, you know, not get a really good time, but I feel like I'm going to improve on that time, you know. Right. Even if I had an average race for me, I was going to improve on that time. And honestly, I dressed right for it. You know, just shorts and, you know, normal socks and everything, but I put like 3 layers on my upper body, and it didn't feel that bad to me. It was cold, but it wasn't that bad. So started off, no foot issues through the whole thing. You know, it's like I just felt strong through the whole thing, and I'm getting through. I think it was about mile. Yeah, Nancy went with me, and she was like helping out, just waiting for me, and she shoots me, and my phone goes off around, you know, as right at mile 13, my phone goes off. So I look at my phone. I was on a walk break. Look at my phone, and it just says 3:50:59 or something like that. So she was telling me what the official time was.
Yeah. And
I said, and I didn't believe her. I was like, I'm at mile 13. What time is it?
Yeah.
3:50:59. I said, I was hoping to bust 5 hours. Now I'm realizing I've got 2.6 miles left, and I'm under 4 hours. That this is like going to be awesome. So there's a climb near the end, and So you slow down a little bit once we get to the end, but I got through it, and I beat my time from last year by 1 hour and 29 minutes. Now,
that's fantastic.
Now, if you remember back to the 10K in Runner's World, I blew that one away by 24 minutes. So it's been, and I was talking to Nancy when we were driving back, it's like this whole different mindset all of a sudden where I felt like I was struggling all last year. Every race I did last year, I felt like, God, I'm just, this is going to suck. I'm going to do it, but it's going to suck. It's going to hurt. I started feeling better, like Runner's World, because I had my foot issue taken care of. So I started feeling, if you remember the 3 5Ks or the 4 5Ks I did through the summer, I kept getting faster and faster and faster.
Yep.
So I was starting to feel a little bit good about this stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to get these huge improvements, huge for me. Now I know, for the majority of people, that's still slow, but I went from a 23:17 pace to 17:30.
That's a huge improvement.
That's a huge improvement.
You can only compare yourself to yourself.
Right, exactly.
And part of that, what I'd really like to know, and you're a data guy, you can go through and look at it and extrapolate some of it. How much of that was your foot feeling better? How much of that therefore then means that you've had better quality training?
Yeah.
And like you had said, does the cold help out?
I think
you didn't drop 5 minutes because of cold. You didn't drop. It's the culmination of all of those things. But still, they're all factors that led to But a biggest part of that is the work you've put into it.
Obviously, I've done a lot more work this year. Because I'm able to do it. So even when I'm able to go out there and run now, the quality of the workouts I'm doing are better. Right off the bat. So I was thinking about that. We were talking about it on the drive back, and what was the big difference? I was like, that's a huge difference. Obviously the weather's better. You're not miserable the whole time. But I remember last year I kept getting caught by people coming up behind me, kept getting passed. And last year, because my foot was hurting so bad, if someone came up behind me or if I heard someone coming, I would stop and get off the trail and let them go and then get back on the trail. Well, this time I didn't do that. They came right up on me. I kept moving. I just moved over a little bit, but I kept going. So I think that was a huge, that was a lot of it right there, that I wasn't stopping as I went through. I even stopped for 3 minutes at the, with 5 miles to go at the, I think I took a picture and I posted it at the rest stop there. And I stopped and I still did that, a lot better. So I think my fueling was better. I stayed on top of that. I still didn't eat before I started, but I ate something maybe 3 or 4 miles into it. I ate something.
No, what is that something? Do you want to share? Or is that
it was
what you want to go through?
Well, what I did was I had nothing really bad. Scratch, the company Scratch, they usually make the drinks, but they had these new bars that they've come out with that I've been given a shot to. So I had one of those. And I did break down about, I think, maybe around mile 13, I broke down and I had a honey stinger waffle, just because I felt like I needed a little bit of a kick at that point.
Yeah. You're saying broke down. I broke down the other day when we were at Trader Joe's and bought Swedish Swimmers, their version of gummies, and they're fantastic. And, it is what it is. You're entitled to it, something every so often. So,
well, right. And sometimes you just want to put something, in your mouth that's not water, not Trailwind or Tailwind, because that's what I had in my backpack. It's like Tailwind. I was joking about that at mile 10 at the rest stop, is that they had just give me plain water. Because sometimes it's especially when you're out there for a while like that and it's in your pack, you get tired of it. Just give me something else,
Oh, yeah.
Kind of break that up. I think I learning as I go along. So I've just been feeling really good. I mean, it's been nice that the next day I'm not hobbled. I always feel like the next day or even after the race, I can barely move. You know, so I'm not feeling like that at all. I'm sore today, 2 days out, but not that I'm not barely walking like I was last year.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, the recovery is been outstanding, or so much better than it was last year. So mentally, I'm just in my game. Even the swimming, because we started, the training for St. Anthony's, the swimming is like improving. I'd still like to get a lot faster, but swimming is there. We're gonna our cycling and our running starts this weekend coming up. So I haven't been on the bike really doing training for a long time, so that'll be interesting. But it's mentally, I'm more in the game, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And with all good reasons. You feel good, both physically, and therefore that leads to mentally. You're having success. It's all good stuff, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're looking at, I was joking with Nancy about it because I said, because she's been, recovering from a knee issue, and she's been just walking, getting some time in. But she's doing 7-8 mile walkings, out there walking. So she's getting some miles in, but she, getting out there and getting around that kind of atmosphere, you start chomping at the bit to want to do it.
Oh yeah.
It's like when I tell people that are like on the fence about trying a triathlon, I say, you want to get the bug? Go watch one. Go out there and watch one. You'll want to do it then, because it just sucks you into it. And I think we talked about this a lot last year, the whole atmosphere of ultra runners and trail runners are just, they're such nice people for the most part. You don't get a lot of those type A athletes in the woods. They're out there. I'm sure they are out there. But for the most
every
part,
group is going to have that, but by far and large, you're right. That is a much more laid back group.
Yeah, they seem to they're not really out there to win. They're out there to beat the course. They're not out there to beat you. They're out there to beat themselves and beat the course. So, and there's a lot of people just being out there trying to, like I was doing, just trying to be better than last year.
Right.
Things like that. So, but yeah, Florida weather, be what it is. I mean, it's 73 degrees today. So, it's right back to shorts and t-shirts again.
Good. I will be in Florida tomorrow, so let's hope that continues.
You will be. You'll be up in the Villages, right? That's only like an hour and a half north of me.
I know. If you golf, you can come up and play around with my dad and I.
Well, I used to have golf clubs. I don't know what happened to them. I think I lost them.
eBay.
Yeah.
Craigslist. Something happened to him. So.
All right. Does he live at the Villages?
No, he has a house at the Villages, but his permanent residence he still has a Pennsylvania driver's license. But he'll spend 4 to 6 months there this year. So
okay, so
the longer he has the house, the more time he spends there.
Gotcha. So does he rent it out when he's not here, or does it just stay empty that's like a true snowbird?
Neither. He doesn't rent it, but it's not completely empty. Him and my mom will spend some time there together, and then she'll spend a couple months there, and then he'll spend a couple months. They still have a dog. He still has his business, so she goes and fills in and payroll and stuff like that.
Oh, gotcha.
So
okay.
So it's like it combined. They each will spend, let's say, 6 months there, and it may not be. It's not 6 months me, 6 months you, and it's not 6 months dead overlap. But they'll be there together for a few weeks, and he'll come home for a month, and then she'll come home and they'll be here for a few weeks, and he goes back down. But he likes golf, so he cannot golf up here. That's it. So he'll be down there golfing pretty much now, like Thanksgiving through March. And then, but when it's nice and warm, June, July, August or so, he's up this direction.
Well, I have to ask you, the mark of a true villager, do they own a golf cart that they drive around?
I could technically say no, because they don't own a golf cart. They own 2 golf carts.
Are they tricked out ones like you've been to the Villages, so you know what I'm talking about?
I do. And so to play into it and say they are not completely tricked out. He has one cart and this is very boring for a lot of you guys, I know, but his one cart has what they call a Curtis cab. So it's like the hard sides on it with the hard doors. That's kind of like when I say the winter cart. So when it's going to be colder, windy, or rainy, you take that one because it's like being enclosed in your car, because it's also more difficult to get in and out when you're golfing with the hard doors. But then he also has like the soft side of like the canvas roll down ones that you have. That's kind of like your summer cart, your convertible, if you will,
Yeah.
But no, when you say tricked out, no. I mean, the one has the hard cab. They have speedometers and turn signals because you have to have all that stuff in there. And he has LED, like I call them little eyebrow lights, like they go over the front fenders. And that's more of a safety issue for when you're riding at night, so you can see them. Because there are people that have literally. I mean, when I say that they'll have $25,000 and it'll look like a little Mustang and it'll have ground effects and, a stereo system, his doesn't have any of that stuff. So, pretty bare bones compared to what you can have.
See, everybody in this area of Florida knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
But hey, but that being said, like whenever you say people joke about it, like I would say I would literally move there tomorrow. I
say that all the time.
And people, when I say it this way, like it sounds expensive. Like, okay, so the homes cost money to buy. But then every home, I mean, if you actually go on their website and look, all the amenities, the swimming pools, tennis courts, bocce courts, all the golf course, all the stuff that they have included, pool, darts, all that stuff. If you had joked and said about, do they have the golf cart? You can get to anything you need. Grocery store, shopping, you can go to Lowe's, Target, everything on the golf cart. And we'll be there. I'll be there for a week, and you only burn $6 worth of gas. Right. So, I mean, you can't beat it.
Yeah. I only got a year left before I can move there.
You want to know the secret? You can actually move there now. And it sounds, I say secret, they legally have to sell. They can't have it exclusively in over 65 or whatever it is.
55, yeah.
55, I'm sorry.
55.
I think 20% of the population or something like that has to be under. So, but it's obviously there's like a wait list if you're under to get in there, just for that reason. So,
yeah, and kids are a no-no.
Yes. Oh, that is one thing. If you're a permanent resident, you can't have children. So
can't have children. It's actually a really nice area, and I like the two of my cycling jerseys are the Village's bike shop.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They have a nice little cycling shop there if you get a chance.
I think I've been past it. I don't believe I've been in it. When I'm there to spend time with my dad, and he's not into that stuff. So.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But I mean, that being said, and I think I've shared it on the show before. When I say there's a group to do whatever you want, I mean, you obviously are going to have like your Steeler group, your Penn State group, your Dolphins group that are going to meet to watch the games, right? But so cycling, we were out and I saw a group of like a peloton of maybe like 40 cyclists go by, matching kits and whatever.
Oh yeah.
Then about 5 minutes later, I saw a husband and wife in matching kits. I assume they're husband and wife, but male and female on a tandem. And then about 300 yards behind them was 7 more tandems. You know what I mean? So like they have a tandem cycling group. Yep. I mean, I can tell you the 4 people in my town that cycle. Not one person I know has a tandem. You know what I mean? And that's it's neat. It's really neat. And
it's a nice little area. We have jokes about that area that are actually true, but I won't share with you.
Oh, I will, because my friend said to me, he said, "Isn't that like an STD capital?" I'm like,
"There you go."
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
And the other thing is, because he sent it to me, he says, "Hey, did you hear about this? There was somebody. I mean, crime will find its way anywhere. There was somebody running a golf cart chop shop last year."
Yeah.
So,
it says like the highest rate of STDs of any place in the country.
So why would you not want to go there, John?
Yeah, exactly. Per capita, but it's a small sample. But if you go per capita, that stuff happens. So.
Yup.
Yeah, and you're right. Crime. If there's a way to make money. What is it? The Godfathers? It's a saying in The Godfather that says something like, "If you look at anybody that's wealthy, there's a crime behind it somewhere. Anybody that has money, there's a crime there somewhere."
Unfortunately, I watched Sopranos every episode, and then I went to watch The Godfather. And like literally, like when I say it this way, like I bought the trilogy. I sat down. My brother was going to watch it. My dad come down. He was all excited. He's like, "This is awesome!" And then like we're sitting there, literally, my dad's on the edge of his seat. He's like, "Wait! This is really important." And it's like they rolled the hospital bed from one room to the other, and he's like, "Did you get that?" And I'm like, "This is so boring. Like I couldn't get through."
You didn't like The Godfather?
Sorry, couldn't get through it. Like I said, I just came off of watching The Sopranos, where it's like much more new age, I should say. So when you go back in time, when I say back in time, that was, and I guess I get it. My dad explained the significance. He was never in this, and now he is. And I'm like, I wasn't paying that close of attention. I was trying not to fall asleep. So,
well, the whole thing of The Godfather that I always got from it is that there was a sense of honor in it. Even though they did kill people and things like that, there was always a sense of honor. They did things the right way, and especially him. Vito always did things the right way. He never. It was always like there's a reason for why he did things, and he had a line. He wasn't going to sell drugs. They were in gambling, which police consider a harmless vice. We're not going to sell drugs. We're not going to sell drugs to kids. We're not going to get into that. That's dirty money. Things like that. So, it was interesting. It's an interesting movie. I like it,
I might have to give it another shot, but I could say I tried to watch it 10, 12 years ago. Wasn't my thing.
Well, I would stay away from part 3 because that wasn't good at all. But my favorite one is actually part 2 because it goes back and it shows you how he grew up, things like that, in the old country and stuff like that, which I find that interesting. Not to get off on the Godfather stuff, but.
Yeah, this ties right into endurance training. You're indoors. You have nothing better to do. Put on that trilogy. I would say put on Back to the Future, but hey, Godfather, go for it.
Yeah, but see, I think that's a generational thing, right?
Not a Back to the Future fan?
I am a Back to the Future fan, but I was in my 20s when Back to the Future came out. I remember when I went to see, so we're getting off in pop culture now. When I went to see Back to the Future, it wasn't even the main feature. If you went and saw this other movie, you got to stay and see Back to the Future for free. And
that's how good it was, huh?
And the movie that we paid to see was Return to Oz. So we paid to see Return to Oz. It was a group of us in the military. We paid to see Return to Oz, and then we stayed and watched Back to the Future. Sneak preview of Back to the Future for free. And nobody ever heard of Back to the Future. And nobody had any idea what it was. It was Michael J. Fox, and he was a TV star who's Michael J. Fox, and it had the guy from Taxi, things like that. So it was like, but, and here you are. It's like, it was a good movie.
I liked it.
And I got to see it for free.
The best price.
The best price. So we did have a question in the group today that I actually answered in the group, but I thought that it would be an interesting topic.
Fire away, because you had roughly asked me if I saw it. My answer was no, and I still don't know what you're talking about. So let's go.
Gary Mickle, who always posts in the group, his stuff. He posted a picture of his Garmin readout. And basically, I'm not going to get into the whole explanation, but the gist is that, dude, does anybody here understand these measurements, these the run dimension statistics, like ground contact time and vertical oscillation and things like that? So, my first answer to him was, you got to be careful with this stuff, Gary, because you can really get sucked into the numbers and you really kind of lose it if you get sucked into these numbers too much. The basic with ground contact time, the basic, just stay basic. You don't have to really understand everything. The basic rule with ground contact time is you want your feet on the ground as little as possible because that's when they get hurt. Right?
Yep.
So, and it's all related to cadence. So if you have a high cadence, your feet are going to be off the ground.
I just heard my coach say that if I lay down, keep my feet up, My feet will be in contact with the ground 0% of the time, and that is ultimate.
And you're gonna be fast.
Excellent.
So he was really, I mean, we got into a discussion about vertical oscillation. So I tried to explain to him what that really is. And, you know, it's reported in centimeters. And what it is your movement or your bounce of your upper body. So it goes to reason that the more your body bounces, the more energy you use, the more wear and tear you're putting on your body. So you want your body to not bounce as much as possible. So, it'll say like his was, I think, 2.2 centimeters, which is pretty good. You know, I think I'm bouncing around a little bit. Where I think where people go wrong in this stuff is that they start Googling and they say, okay, what's the optimum?
0.
You know, things like that. And if you try to look it up, you're not going to find anything. You're going to find a lot of explanations of what it means, but really, everybody's different, you know, like everything else.
So let me ask, and I'm assuming, obviously, it's probably some algorithm running because it's being measured from your watch, which is obviously swinging back to forth, left to right, up, and, you know, I mean, so it's kind of, but really what they're saying is, if you drew a line from your head through your tailbone, right? And you're saying then, like almost like a hula hoop, your trunk is moving within a 2.2 centimeter circle
off baseline. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what it is. So, but it goes back to cadence. So you also have the vertical ratio. So it's the basic your cadence compared to your vertical oscillation. So like I said, you want your upper body to move as little as possible. You want it to be 0. Nobody's ever going to be 0, but you want it to be 0. So I did get into it a little bit. So the way to figure out on what kind of effect that has on your body is you take the time that you were out there. So he was out there 90 minutes, for example.
Yeah.
His average cadence was 140, and his vertical oscillation was measured at 2.2 centimeters. So what you do is you take the time times the cadence, which makes sense if you think about it. You know how much your average cadence is over this much time, and then multiply it by your vertical oscillation of 2.2 centimeters. It gives you a number, divide that by 100, and that tells you basically the number of meters you've climbed, and I'm using bunny quotes. If you were climbing, this is the same effect that it has on your body. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so he came out to like, and I'm gonna make up a number. He came out to like 279 meters of climbing, basically. So if you take that 279 times it by 3.28 feet, which is how many feet are in each meter, divide that by 10, you can get stories. That's 91 stories.
So in essence, and to dumb this down, what you're basically saying then is, because it's vertical, meaning up and down, not left and right, when you're talking oscillation. So that would be, you're using energy and pushing your chest, head, everything up. So that's where you're getting this climbing. Meaning, if you were at a true 0, you could almost put something on your shoulder and it's going to make a perfectly straight line. But every time you're taking a step, you have a rise, a fall with this vertical oscillation. And as such, you could extrapolate that to say wasted energy. So if you could figure out a way to work on that and get it to 0, you would be putting all of your energy into going forward, not wasting any going up.
Perfectly stated. You're right. Your energy should be focused on moving forward, not up and down.
Yeah.
So what I've always found interesting about vertical oscillation is that if you take, someone's running on a flat course, say you're in Florida and you're running a 4-hour marathon on a flat course at Disney, say, and you're out there for 4 hours and you have a vertical oscillation of like 5 centimeters, you basically put as much energy into the vertical oscillation as climbing like 200 flights.
Yeah.
That's some energy output. You need to get that down to under 2. And then, what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Now, my question, did you ask him Is he paid attention? Is he a traditional runner? Is he, heel strike, midfoot, forefoot? Is that something that anyone has? Have you read it? Did you do any? I'm assuming you might have or will. Have you done any research to see if because every runner is going to be unique to them? Have they changed their running style and negated some of that?
Yeah, the way to what I was looking into, and I've not looked into this before. This wasn't just today, but he's not a client, so I don't really get into a lot of it because I'm not coaching him, and I don't want to. If he asks for advice, I'm going to give him advice, and things like that. But he's got some medical issues. I think his neurologist is looking at it to see how much pounding he's putting on his body. But
right.
It's related to cadence. So you go back to the whole chi running thing. If you get a quicker turnover on your feet, it's going to translate into a smoother motion. Right. So if you're doing strides, like, we got into that, like, an average stride length. So an average male, and I think I said it on Facebook as well, to him, is like, you have to be careful about this because, everybody has a different stride. If you're 6'5" and you've got legs, up to your neck, your stride's going to be a lot longer than a normal 5'10" fat guy like me. Right.
Yeah.
So, but the average male stride is about 2.5 feet, which is like 30 inches, which is about a 0.79 meters. Now you can look in your running and see what your average stride length is on Garmin. Mine is a 0.66 on most of my runs. So I'm not striding out like that. You want to get that stride down to as little as possible, almost like a chi running up and down, up and down, up and down. Where, you don't want to be pushing your feet out. There's no need for you to stride almost 3 feet with every step.
Okay. I'd have to go look at mine. Obviously, because I'm on my phone right now. I don't have any of that in front of me, but I definitely will check that out.
Yeah, that's the, and you have to look at that. But I caution people to, don't compare themselves to what, if you go out there and look at average, like the average female stride is this, and you might be longer, but there's other factors in that, If you're, tall, you're going to have a naturally longer stride. So, a female stride, average stride is going to be a little bit less than men. I think it's like 2 feet, men's 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
So, but when you're running, you don't want to be striding like that. You don't want to be doing that stuff. Now, if you look at a sprinter, their strides are going to be ridiculously long because they're doing it for a reason, I'm trying to pull up one of your things to see if I can see it real quick.
I'll just jump in for a second then and say kind of what you're saying, different, that this same is, my friend Brian and I were both looking at doing the same training plan, and he did after him and I had talked about it, and then he went and got the book, and he did do this same marathon training plan I'm doing last year. And that being said, is this year, and Brian's much, much faster than me. He's the one I go out with and say his slow run is my, kind of like tempo pace. Mm-hmm. And that being said, though, is he's looking at cutting back to not the just finished, but almost like the beginner plan. And on my training plan, you have the advanced. So the one I'm talking that I'm doing is like the hardest, which there's obviously 2-3 levels lower that I could go. I could back off if this is or becomes too much for me. And that's the brief conversation I had with Brian was I said, hey, I can't believe I'm doing the advanced and you're not, kind of thing. And he had said, hey, his wording, he's not that durable. He says he can't do that high of mileage. Granted, once again, he's running faster, but he can't do that high of mileage. He'll get injured and he can't make it to the start line. So what good is doing any training if you're not going to make it to the start line? So
exactly, and that's why we have to watch it. Yeah, I can't get yours on Training Peaks. I don't know if we're connected on Garmin, but I would assume we are, but who knows?
Stranger things.
Now, remember, though, that like things like vertical oscillation, you're not going to get if you're just like, I'm just using a watch, the Garmin Fenix 3.
Yeah.
If I'm not using a foot pod or the actual heart rate strap that have the mechanism in them, I'm not going to get anything like VO on me.
They actually have that in the heart rate. I didn't know. I wear the heart rate strap every run, and pretty much every run have the foot pod as well. So I should have all that data.
You should have all of that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to see.
Not that I know how to use it, but I know it's out there.
Well, it's interesting stuff, but like I said, you get kind of caught up in it if you're not careful. And, I think, I got you here. Hold on. Let's see. Your vertical oscillation is 8.8 centimeters.
So terrible.
You're bouncing. Yeah.
Was that a treadmill or an outside one though?
And
you'd also have to look at what's my average.
Yeah. So your average run cadence is 170. Your stride length is 1.06 meters. So you're striding even more than an average, what they say is average. So we're getting right back into it. We've never really looked at that, but you're almost even like on your balance, your left foot to your right foot. It's almost exactly even.
Oh, hey, something's got to be good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can look at this, so going forward 8.8 centimeters. My bounce is I looked at mine and it was, I can look at it real quick. That was your 8 mile run. So that's what I just looked at.
That's the one I just did then, which was on and off the treadmill, you know what I mean, too. So I'd go back to yesterday's or day before. Yeah. That very much, that could have had a lot, and or it was an interval. So it's reach up, hit the thing, reach down, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah, we have to look at different things for you, so to make sure we're looking at the right thing. We can start looking at that and see if we. I don't think there's an issue, honestly. You'd be getting hurt if there was, and you're not getting hurt. It's like you have a lot of treadmill running. Alexandria running was outside, right?
Yesterday was, and Alexandria was, yes.
Okay, so let's look at Alexandria real quick and just see. This is podcasting gold, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, you're about the same, though, for 8.1. Yeah. So, So let's start looking at that going forward and see if we can figure that out. Yeah, you got a 1.01 meter stride. So.
Sorry, Coach.
You disappoint me.
Oh, join the club.
All right. So, do you have anything else for today?
I really don't. Nope. I mean, it's just it makes for a boring show. Whenever it's just like, hey, what'd you do this week? Yeah, I ran 6 out of 7 days. Oh, okay, yeah. What'd you do? Pretty much 6 miles every day. Treadmill? Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Well, that's why I wanted that. Well, that's why I wanted to throw in that vertical oscillation, so we taught them something, right?
Yes. If they stuck through to it, they might have tuned out after the first 2 minutes. But
the truth of the matter is that both Rob and I are feeling a little bit like we're becoming ill. So, but we wanted to get at least one show out there today, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Not that we would put 2 or 3 out. We had made plans to potentially record several, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I will interject 2 random things that most people do not care about, and this is maybe 3 things here, and this is just Scott's shotgun approach. I don't know who uses what earphones out there, but I pretty much exclusively use the Yourbuds, Yourbuds, and mostly I bought them whenever they first came out. They're just like your earbud, but they have a little rubbery piece, and they kind of twist into your ear, and they stay in there real well, for me at least. They don't fall out. Like, I can't put a pair of Apple earphones in. Like, they literally just fall out of my ears. But anyways, I had just broken my set the other day. Like, literally went to twist the little rubber pieces and snapped them off. So but I bought new ones, corded. I 99% of the time run with corded earphones, and because my iPhone's old and it doesn't last, because iPhone apparently thinks they want to shut it down according to all those news articles. Mm-hmm. Anyways, if you get Yourbuds, the ones I'm actually holding in my hand, they just came in today, my new set, Focus 100s. They're like $8 on Amazon. So if anyone's out there looking, and what I really like is they stay in my ears extremely well. They don't obviously means they don't fall out. But also when I get to running, they don't get like whenever you're running, you get that little squishy, like, sweat sound. These don't do that, for me at least. Second is that, like, my friend John, who I ride bikes with and got in a triathlon the other year, he asked me the other day, he started asking me about bike helmets with like little visors, the little shield, I should say, like almost like the sunglasses built in, because he hates wearing sunglasses. And I yelled at him a couple of times. Like every time I'd ride with him, I'm like, this is the last time I'm going to ride with you if you're not going to wear it. Because, you just don't want things to jump up and hit you in the eye. Granted, this is winter. We're all going to be outside, not outside, inside probably a lot. Most people aren't going to be out riding their bikes and so forth. But I meant to say this like 10 shows ago. The sunglasses that I typically wear are $3. They're actually the tinted safety glasses that you can get at like Lowe's and Home Depot. You can get them on Amazon as well. They're like $3, and for like a fat guy, they hug my face. They're contoured really well, and since they're only $3, I buy them like 8-10 sets at a time. I leave a set in each car. I leave a set in my running bag. I leave a set like on each bicycle. That way I always have them. And I say this because couldn't find one of them, so I was wearing a different set. I almost ran out into traffic the other day because my breath was freezing on my glasses and I couldn't see out of the right lens. They don't fog up because they're safety glasses. Mm-hmm. So anyone out there, I'm not saying go buy. I don't like to say go buy hundreds of dollars worth of gear, but $7 earphones and $3 sunglasses, well worth every penny, just so you can keep them around.
And we talked about doing a show about that before. Yeah, I think people get caught up. I mean, the joke about triathlon is that how expensive everything is, but there are cheaper ways. You do not have to have a $400 bike helmet.
No.
You don't have to have that. You don't have to have $300 sunglasses.
I have 2 or 3 bike helmets at this point because they do wear out. When I say wear out, they get older. Most of the helmets, 2 out of the 3 are my I guess they're specialized or whatever, the brand, but they're like $30, $45 helmets. And just because they fit really well and they adjust to the back. And I did buy like an $80 one, but it does have in the dead center back like a little light built in that you push it and it blinks like a red tail light. And that's the only difference. But once again, it's not like a $300 or $400 Rudy product. I got to lose 40 pounds or 50 pounds before I worry about the helmet drag.
Right. All bike helmets have to pass the same safety test. Yeah. In order to be so you can. I mean, not that I would ever tell anybody to shop at Walmart, but you can get a bike helmet at Walmart that went through the same safety procedures as every other helmet.
Yep.
So, and I wear mine until they fall apart or until, if I ever crash. If you crash and you get a cracking helmet, replace the damn helmet.
Even if you crash, period. If you just fall over at a stop sign, I think you're okay. Right. Check it for cracks. But if you're moving and you're crashed, you're supposed to throw it away. And I say that too. And I only say this because when I went to do a Rev 3 race, and I don't know if Ironman or any of the larger ones be the same, I actually read their rule book. In your helmet is an expiration sticker. Races have the right to check, and if your helmet's expired, they won't let you race. You don't want to lose a weekend over something stupid like that.
Yeah, that'd be I've never seen them do it, but I guess they have the right to do it.
Right.
But about the earbuds, I mean, I tried those when they first came out, and they wouldn't stay in my ears.
Really?
Yeah. I would try them again for $7 though. Yeah.
Well, like I said, the Focus 100s, they're the earbud, but they then also have the little piece that wraps around your ear as well.
Well, see, that's what I use. Now I got them for free, so nobody think I spend a lot of money on them, but I have Beats.
Yep.
Wireless Beats. And I got them right when Dre still owned them before, they got bought out. But I still use them. They're the kinds that wrap around your ears, and I've always liked that because they stay there. Yep. What I've wanted to try is those temporal ones.
The bone conducting ones?
Yeah, the bone conducting ones.
I picked up a set of those when I was out in, when I say picked up, I didn't buy a set. We were in a running store. I picked a set up and put them on, and the sound quality, but once again, I was in the store, was great. Then really? I was dumbfounded.
I've heard that. So I want to test them.
and I'm probably going to ask for a set for my birthday because they're like $100, $130. And I'm not going to go spend that on myself right now. You know what I mean? So
But you'll let your wife spend it for you.
Yeah.
Unless there's a company out there listening to this that wants to, shoot us a pair to test out for you.
Yep, or two. One to John, one to me, so we can compare and contrast. So
we will do it, so.
Yeah, my question with that was less about, because they sounded great, and that's when they said about, like, the sweat. Like, you wouldn't have the problem with the sweat because it's using the bone conduction technology. And I said, what about the wind? That's more so mine, is I don't like when the wind goes over my ear and you can hear that whistling. And they said, hey, now granted, it was just probably a $9 an hour clerk. She really didn't know. She's like, well, I'd have to assume it works just the same because of the bone conduction. And she just kept coming back and saying that one buzzword, so she wasn't knowledgeable, but I wasn't exactly, I was just perusing. I wasn't looking to purchase, and I even said that, and I go back to saying this, if you're going to go into a store, don't waste a ton of somebody's time. I told her right up front, hey, I've never seen these. I just want to put a set on my head and hear how they sound,
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah, we'll have to do a show about that because, we used Randy Messman as an example of that, building that bike with, pieces he got from that were a lot less expensive than you would normally get.
Yeah.
So, there are ways to get through it cheaper,
Yes.
So, with that, I guess we will reconvene next week. Right?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So until next week, we will. I don't know. I don't know how to end this.
We will stay inside and stay warm.
Swim calm, bike strong, run steady.
There you go, John.
There we go. Talk to you next week.
Talk to you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Endurance for Everyone podcast. If you have comments or questions for the show, send an email to teamE4E at enduranceforeveryone.com. And remember, swim calm, bike strong, and run steady.